Alrighty, this is going to be my Assassination Rogue guide after the buffs that they currently gave the Assassination Rogue. And luckily for all of us rogues out there, they actually nerfed a few of the overpowered classes, so hopefully we're going to have a little bit more success and we can actually try to play Assassination Rogue. But nevertheless, this is my guide, and please enjoy. Alright, so I wanted to go over my talents first up for my Assassination Rogue. I currently run Elaborate Planning. Because in your damage window, which I'll show later, you're going to want to Kidney Shot, and then that gives you Elaborate Planning, which increases your damage by 10% for your burst window. The other two are more of like damage over time abilities, or the Free Ambush, which I don't think is that good, to be honest. This just guarantees you 10% increased damage in your damage window, which is very nice. Next up, we have Night Stalker. This is what I would use in twos, primarily because when you vanish in your burst window, which I'll show later, it makes your ambush do an additional 25% in PvP additional damage, and plus it's going to crit with the Master Assassin legendary, sorry. So it's all around really good for twos, although in threes, because you need to set up, 3 targets for your team to kill, so you could sap 1 target. And then with Subterfuge, you could sap 1 target, stun another, and then cheap shot the main target, or Garrote, depending on if it's caster or not. And then, Garrote and go into an opener, whereas you kind of lose that ability to use multiple stealth, like stuns, like cheap shot, in the opener if you run Night Stalker. So in general, if you're running threes, go Subterfuge. And the third tier, you're going to want to go Mark for Death. It just gives you more options. Say, for example, you're in a hurry and you want to Mark for Death Kidney an off target so that your caster could, fear off of it or something like that. It just gives you more options. And additionally, in your burst window, it allows you to get 2 times Envenoms off, which is crazy. It's better for your burst window and it gives you more options in general. Fourth tier, you're going to want Elusiveness, because with Assassination Rogue, you need a healer, and this basically gives you a 30% damage reduction, which is really nice because it has a pretty low cooldown. 30% damage reduction on a 15-second cooldown is very nice. So if you ever see Wings or Avatar or any of these burst windows, you can faint, and it may save you, especially with a healer. The other two, Cheat Death and Leashing Poison, aren't good in PvP, especially if you have a healer. It's more you need the defensive cooldown. And in the 5th tier, I go Prey on the Weak because it increases my damage by an extra 40% and my damage window, which is going to be extremely nice. And I'll go over that later in my damage window. So you're going to want to Kidney Shot. And it gives you 20% increased damage with both of these talents for your burst window. If you had a different build, you could run, say, for example, Master Assassin and Eternal Bleeding. Or sorry, you wouldn't want Eternal Bleeding. I think if you have, there's merit for Eternal Bleeding. Say if you run this talent here, Master Assassin, and then if you were to run, Karain, which gives you First Strike, which is an additional 25% more crit when you open on a target. So this would give you 25% crit, plus the Master Assassin giving you an extra 50% crit. So that's 75% crit with your base crit, which would be, let me get out of stealth here, 21%. So I'd have, even without the legendary, 96% crit if I ran Karain when opening on a target, which would be really nice. And then you could run Eternal Bleeding, because then you'd be able to run a different legendary, which leans more heavily on bleed damage, which would be very nice. And I think later as the expansion goes on, and if I ever gear for more for my Assassination Rogue, the good thing you could do, right, would be to run Eternal Bleeding, and I'll go over why I took Alacrity here, but if you had more haste, you could take Exsanguinate, and then, you could run a legendary. Let me see if I can find it. There's a legendary here that, I think it's Doomblade, yeah. No, is it Doomblade? That's Oh, sorry, this one here. Zoldyck Insignia, which increases your poison and bleed damage, 30% increased damage to targets below 30%, which basically means when you get the target low and you exsanguinate, and you have, you know, the kidney shot bleed, exsanguinate on, and then your rupture and your garrote on, that's gonna be a lot of bleed execute damage. But because I'm not geared for it at the moment, I would run in 2s, especially Night Stalker, Prey on the Weak, and Alacrity because I have low haste. If you had more haste, you could run Exsanguinate. And then the final tier, we have Poison Bomb because the other 2 talents are not very good. I think you should always take Poison Bomb, especially with my current talents. It just makes your burst window that much more effective. Alright, so now going into the actual burst that I've been talking about with my talents. The general rotation on your target is going to be, for say a spellcaster, you would garrote them because it acts as a pseudo silence, and they can't do anything if it's a caster. If you're fighting, say, a melee, you're going to want a cheap shot to lock the target down, and then followed up with a rupture. So it'd be, for the sake of the argument, we're going to say garrote, garrote, mutilate for 4 combo points, 5-point rupture. Then you're going to want to mutilate and try to get a 5-point slice and dice up. And once you have slice and dice up, garrote, and rupture all on the target, then you can go into your burst window. And so for your burst window, you're going to want to have sepsis up. And the important thing to note for sepsis, right, is that if the target doesn't die during the dot duration, it does a burst of damage at the end. So what'll happen is you're going to want a sepsis, and then around 3 seconds left on the dot, you're going to want to shiv to increase the nature damage of your sepsis. Then you're going to want a 5-point kidney shot with Vendetta already active. Then you can vanish, and then vanish you could ambush, envenom, mark for death, and venom. Oops, my bad. Mark for death and venom, followed by, because sepsis gives you access at the end of its cooldown for another stealth ability, you can then ambush again. And this is all during your crit legendary window. So 2 times ambush, 2 times envenom, all critting, plus the additional damage you're getting at the end of your sepsis is going to do 10k or more damage. It's insane, especially with Shiv and the increased damage from Vendetta and your kidney shot in your talents. Alternatively, say if the target you're trying to kill is a caster and they can have trinket, you could predict that they're going to trinket your kidney shot. Then all you would do is vanish, garrote, instead of ambushing in the opener, basically silencing them so they can't do anything, especially good on a healer. Then you can envenom, mark for death, and venom, and then your sepsis is going to give you another ambush. So there's a bunch of different things you can do to outplay your opponents, but that's the general rotation. So I'll kind of show you what it looks like. So I'm just going to put on all my dots. Boom. As you can see, my haste is extremely low, so I'm having a hard time keeping everything up. But now I have a damage window. So I'm going to want to keep my garrote up. Sepsis, right? And then I just want to sit and pull my energy. Then you want to ambush, envenom, mark for death, envenom, boom. And then you get another ambush at the end. So as you can see, this is the damage breakdown. It's kind of crazy. So if you take away the 5k envenom I got at the end, so just during my crit window, I had a 15k envenom crit followed by a 9k envenom crit. So that would be around, what is that, like 24k from envenom. Both ambushes doing 18k in total. So just the ambush, 2 envenoms is probably going to kill somebody if they don't pop something. And then not only that, but the sepsis crits during my burst window, that burst of damage you see, you know, sepsis is actually amazing for Assassination Rogue because it gives you another use of ambush during your burst window, and then it does an extra 10k plus burst, not only in the dot that it's doing in your burst window, but then when it procs, because if the target didn't die, it does an extra 10k during your window. So it's actually insane. And just so you know, like, why they're doing so much damage, like all my abilities, again, it's from Elaborate Planning and Prey on the Weak, increasing my damage by 20% on the target, followed by Vendetta, increasing my damage by another 30%, which would be a total 50% increased damage. And then for your Venom, which does nature damage, and your Sepsis doing nature damage, your Shiv increases those two abilities by another 30%. So that's 80% increased damage, followed by 100% crit chance. It's actually crazy. So all that together makes it insane. Now, I'm going to go over really quickly what it would look like, say, if you expect a trinket. So say you're opening up on a target, boom, applying your bleeds and all that. Boom, you do your thing. Boom, boom. You want to, okay, so now you can go into your damage window and say you can want to keep your Garrote up, Sepsis, Vendetta. Then now it's going to get to that window. So you could then, boom, Garrote in the opener. Boom. So the only difference there, it's kind of hard for me to talk while I'm doing the damage. But in that damage window, instead of using my ambush, I actually messed up my rotation a little bit. There should be an ambush crit in there, but I didn't do my rotation properly. So the only difference there being that instead of vanishing ambush, if I say they trinket the kidney shot, I vanish Garrote to silence the spellcaster. If they are a caster, you could do this. If they're melee, it doesn't matter because you can't really do anything with the Garrote. But then it silences them, meaning they can't actually do anything. And it just makes it so that you have a huge... They not only trinketed the stun, but now they can't do anything for 3 seconds. And then you're still doing your massive burst, which, if you look, you know, still did, you know, 2 times in Venom crits for 28k. Garrote's pumping a little bit, surprisingly. So you're doing 28k plus Sepsis doing 11k. So that's 39k without your ambush, plus a few extra thousand from Garrote. So like even if they trinket and you predict it, you can silence them right after they trinket, and then you could just kill them through it anyway, especially if it's caster. And with this burst window in mind, it would be it's probably going to be a good with another dot heavy class. I would think Shadow Priest or Warlock. Probably Shadow Priest at the moment, because I think they're a little better than Warlock. Although there is a case for Affliction, because of that 50% slow legendary they have, would make it incredibly easy for you to kite away as a rogue. So either one would be nice, but if you have, you know, not only do you have a lot of spread pressure with Assassination Rogue, but with this build, you actually have insane damage if you want to kill a target. Like, say, you know, if the game is going longer than it should, your cooldowns are up, you know, it's late in the game, people are burning through all their defensives, boom, you pop this, you're going to kill somebody instantly. It's crazy. Thank you for watching. I wanted to leave a quick note at the end of the video about how I'm actually going to create a new series similar to Harstem's Harstem Hour / Is It Imba or Do I Suck series, where basically people email him and send him replays from their gameplay in StarCraft, and then he watches it, and based on what they said in their email, for example, I think, you know, Broodlords are OP. As you can see in this game, this is why I think they're OP. Can you watch it and tell me if it's actually imbalanced or if I would just suck? And I was thinking about doing a series similar to that, where people will send me arena matches in an email, and I can watch the VOD, and they can give me a brief description of, you know, their matchup and the opponent's matchup or composition, and, you know, why they think they lost, and if there's any imbalance in the game because of the way they lost and whatnot. So I will leave my email in the description for people to send me their VODs and their email, and then I'll try to make a series based on Harstem's StarCraft 2 series. Shout out to him for the great idea. But anyway, thanks for watching.